You bite your nails, talk to yourself, and zone out for hours. Congrats, you might be showing signs of a mental disorder. Let's get into the stuff you think is normal, but actually isn't. Number 1, talking to yourself. You mutter to yourself in the kitchen, hype yourself up before a date, and rehearse arguments you already won 2 days ago. Sounds quirky, right? Well, psychologists call this externalized self-talk. And while it can boost focus or emotional regulation, there's a fine line between helpful and hallucination audition tape. If you're just whispering, don't forget the eggs at the grocery store, cool. But if you're pausing mid-walk to ask your invisible coworker how their weekend was, that's not just quirky, that's a red flag in HD. In some cases, frequent public self-dialogue, especially with made-up characters, falls under schizotypal personality disorder or even early signs of psychosis. Basically, your brain's running a podcast and you're the only one subscribed. So, next time you're deep in a chat with your shower laffa, maybe call a friend instead. Number 2, nail biting. You bite your nails when you're nervous, bored, stressed, or just because there's a hangul staging a coup on your cuticle. But here's the kicker. Chronic nail biting isn't just a bad habit. It's actually a form of body-focused repetitive behavior, or BFRB if you want to sound like a psychology major. It's in the same family as trichotillomania, hair pulling, and dermatillomania, skin picking. When it's constant to the point of bleeding, infection, or pain, psychologists see it as compulsive self-soothing. Your brain's anxious. And instead of journaling or doing yoga, it's like, hey, what if we just chew our fingers into beef jerky? It's low-key self-harm, disguised as grooming. And no, chewing one pinky down during finals week doesn't make you crazy. But if you're doing it daily, your anxiety might be biting back. Number 3, avoiding eye contact. You're in a conversation and suddenly you're staring at the floor, the ceiling, the nearest exit, anywhere but the other person's eyes. Eye contact feels like standing naked in front of a judgment laser. But avoiding it constantly, that's not just shyness. It can be a sign of social anxiety, autism spectrum traits, or low self-esteem tied to trauma. Your brain treats eye contact as a threat, like it's scanning for rejection. Especially if you've grown up feeling scrutinized, criticized, or unsafe. Direct eye contact can feel exposing. So instead, you dart your gaze like you're trying to solve a crime scene in the distance. It's your nervous system trying to stay invisible, even while you're standing right there. And yeah, some cultures do value less eye contact, but if yours doesn't and you're still avoiding it, that might not be politeness. That might be your anxiety trying to disappear. Number 4, laughing at inappropriate times. You're at a funeral and someone says passed away, and for some reason your brain thinks Windows just shut down. And now you're fighting back a laugh while everyone else is crying. That awkward little chuckle might not be so innocent. Inappropriate or misplaced laughter can be a defense mechanism linked to anxiety, PTSD, or even neurological conditions like pseudobulbar effect. In psychology, this is called incongruent affect. When your outward emotion doesn't match what's happening inside, it's your brain's emotional firewall laughing to release pressure when the system is overheating. Because if you don't laugh, you might actually break down. So instead, your subconscious goes, hey, let's lighten the mood by being deeply uncomfortable. And while it doesn't always mean something serious, if this happens often, especially in stressful or emotional moments, it could point to unprocessed trauma or emotional dysregulation. In short, you're not a bad person. You're just using comedy to hide the chaos. Number 5, always needing noise. You wake up and the first thing you do, open TikTok, you shower with a podcast, eat with YouTube, sleep with white noise, silence, no thanks. That's when the thoughts get loud. But this constant need for background noise, it's not just a preference. It might be a coping mechanism with a Wi-Fi signal. Psychologists call it avoidant coping, and it's often linked to ADHD, generalized anxiety, and depressive rumination. Your brain learns to drown out uncomfortable thoughts with content, so it loops distraction like a Spotify playlist. Because if it gets too quiet, stuff bubbles up, regrets, intrusive thoughts, that one cringy thing you said 3 years ago at a party. So instead of sitting with that, You blast audio like it's a sonic security system. And yeah, we all scroll for comfort. But when noise becomes the only thing separating you from panic, that's not background ambience. That's a digital pacifier for your mental health. Number 6, zoning out, aka spacing. You're staring at the wall. 10 minutes go by. You're not asleep, not really thinking, just buffering like a bad Wi-Fi signal. Most people call it daydreaming. But when it happens frequently, especially under stress, psychologists call it dissociation. It's your brain saying, "This reality, nah, I'm good," and dipping into safe mode. And yeah, we all get spacey once in a while. But if it happens so often that time vanishes or the world feels fake, like you're watching your life through a movie screen, that's not just being tired. That could be depersonalization when you feel unreal, or derealization when the world does. It's common in trauma survivors, people with anxiety, PTSD, and even burnout. Basically, your mind builds an emotional panic room and forgets to let you back out. Ever wake up mid-walk and realize you've been walking the wrong way? Not quirky, not funny, kind of terrifying. Your brain went offline and didn't even warn you. Number 7, overexplaining everything. Sorry this is long, I just wanted to clarify, not that you misunderstood. I mean, maybe I worded it weird. Sorry again. Sound familiar? Overexplaining, also known as fawn behavior, is a trauma response where your brain tries to prevent rejection by preemptively pleasing everyone. It's rooted in fear. Fear of being misunderstood, disliked, or punished. So, you try to control the narrative by dumping every possible explanation into the convo like it's a legal deposition. Psychologists often see this in people with CPTSD, social anxiety, or those who grew up in emotionally volatile environments. You learned early on that clarity equals safety. So now, instead of saying no thanks, you send a 6-paragraph essay explaining why you're not coming to brunch. The irony, the more you explain, the less confident you sound. And deep down, it's not about being clear, it's about being approved. You're not just explaining yourself, you're trying to earn permission to exist. Number 8, constantly imagining worst-case scenarios. You're walking into a room and already planning what to say if someone randomly attacks you. You text someone, and if they don't reply in 6 minutes, your brain's like, "Cool, they hate me. Time to spiral." That's not just a vivid imagination. That's called catastrophizing. And it's a hallmark of anxiety disorders and hypervigilance. Your mind isn't playing pretend. It's preparing for war, even during brunch. For some, it stems from past chaos. When you've been blindsided before, your brain thinks it's safer to always assume the worst. So instead of enjoying the moment, you're living inside a personal horror trailer. Coming soon, everything goes horribly wrong. The twist, it never helps. You still feel anxious and now you're exhausted from the emotional dress rehearsals. Congrats, you just stress-lived through 5 disasters that didn't happen. Number 9, over-apologizing. Sorry for bumping into someone, for asking a question, for existing slightly too loudly. Your daily vocabulary is 40% to apology. Your brain might be waving a white flag of its own. Chronic over-apologizing isn't just politeness. It's often tied to low self-worth, childhood trauma, or people-pleasing behaviors linked to anxiety disorders. It's your nervous system pre-negotiating peace before anyone even gets mad. A learned behavior from environments where being too much or in the way got you punished, emotionally or otherwise. So now you apologize like it's a verbal reflex, even when you're the one who got hurt. Like someone steps on your foot and you're like, "Oh, sorry, my foot was there, you're not being nice." You're trying to survive perceived conflict. That's not etiquette. That's a trauma response in a polite little trench coat. Number 10, constantly saying, "I'm fine." You could be emotionally imploding, job stress, relationship drama, existential crisis on aisle 3, and if someone asks how you're doing, "I'm fine." The 2 most dishonest words people say with a smile. But here's the psychology. Saying, "I'm fine," when you're not, is a classic sign of emotional suppression, often tied to childhood invalidation, perfectionism, or trauma-based attachment styles. You learned, consciously or not, that showing pain makes you a burden. So now you wear calm like a costume, nodding through the chaos like a background character in your own breakdown. And the more you bottle it up, the harder it becomes to even identify what you're feeling. Because the brain doesn't just store unspoken pain, it buries it. You start to feel numb, disconnected, robotic. "I'm fine" becomes muscle memory. But behind the scenes, it's emotional duct tape holding everything together. And spoiler, duct tape doesn't fix internal bleeding. Sometimes the strongest thing you can say is, "Actually, I'm not okay." If you saw yourself in half this list, don't panic. It doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're human and possibly overdue for a therapist. Most of these habits start as ways to cope. They become part of our personality, not because they're healthy, but because they worked just enough to keep us going. But here's the thing. Awareness is step 1. Step 2, not running from the stuff you've been calling just a quirk. So, if this video made you laugh, squirm, or feel just a bit too seen, subscribe because next time we're digging into the things you don't even know you're doing and what they might really